Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 98. Great King. Xian Hezi hurriedly pulled the parachute down and looked for the release cord. Suddenly, he heard chatting voices coming from deep inside the cave. He hurried forward and saw a crack where blue light was shining forth. A few meters below, Wang Lei and Zhi Xiaoduo were walking. "Why did you say that it reaped what it sowed?" asked Zhi Xiaoduo. "Don't keep trying to trick me into talking." Wang Lei replied lightly. "Don't be like that." Zhi Xiaoduo said, "Teacher Wang, I still like you ma. We have no grievances and no hatred between us, so we can still be friends even if we are on opposing sides, right? You'd better worry about your own life first ba," Wang Lei said. They walked down a wide long street, where a black ape came running at full speed towards them. "There is a big guy," said the black ape. "Boss, you have to do something about it." Wang Lei signaled for his subordinates to not act rashly. He turned into the alley in a house and came out from another alley. Zhi Xiaoduo was surprised when he looked into the room. At the intersection up ahead, there was a giant turtle more than 10 meters long crouching there. It looked about the same size as the boss snake, and it was blocking all the exits. Ho! The giant turtle looked up and roared, looking around, as if it had just woken up. The shell of the giant turtle was covered with devil runes. Immediately, more than 10 Yaoguai were summoned by it, flying down from the sky and resting on its shell. "Let's take a break here," said Wang Lei, "and find another way." The black apes spread out one after another, forming a circle. Zhi Xiaoduo glanced at them. There were 7 black apes in total. "What about Dinghai?" Zhi Xiaoduo asked, "Why didn't you guys act together?" "We aren't that close, Zhi Xiaoduo," Wang Lei said politely. Zhi Xiaoduo said, "Don't be like that, Teacher Wang. What's wrong with just talking? You'll kill me later anyway, right?" Wang Lei ignored Zhi Xiaoduo and glanced at the Yaoguai around them. None of the Yaoguai dared to speak. They were obviously afraid of Wang Lei. "What are you looking at?" Wang Lei said, "Spread out and scout ahead." The Yaoguai climbed onto the eaves of the buildings around them, dispersed and ran away. Zhi Xiaoduo said, "Are we going to the central temple now?" "Yes." Wang Lei looked at his watch and said, "If I am estimating correctly, you still have 6 hours to live. Then I will cherish this period of time." But Zhi Xiaoduo thought to himself, "Who is afraid of you?" and then said, "If I exchange some information with you, can you answer my question in return?" "What information?" Wang Lei asked. Zhi Xiaoduo pointed to the turtle and said, "That's a Xian turtle, a monster from the ancient classics of mountains and rivers. It's an aquatic type. What use does this information have?" Wang Lei said politely, then pointed his gun at Zhi Xiaoduo's temple. Zhi Xiaoduo replied, "It is recorded in the ancient texts that it is often thirsty and will drink a lot of water, even to the point of swallowing a whole river. Rain makes turtles rampage. So, it will definitely go look for water later." Wang Lei took his gun back. "About how long from now?" "Probably soon." Zhi Xiaoduo turned his head and looked around. Wang Lei looked over at the distant turtle, and Zhi Xiaoduo said, "It's my turn to ask now. You don't seem to have liked Hu Ziniang very much It doesn't hurt to tell you." Wang Lei replied, "That guy Hu Ziniang was actually helping you guys. You guys getting rid of him just relieved me of a serious problem." "What?" Zhi Xiaoduo was shocked. Wang Lei said, "Hu Ziniang's lifelong goal was to help your boyfriend complete his reincarnation and become Mara." Zhi Xiaoduo thought, "How could this be called helping us? Only you would think it's good to become Mara, right?" Vaguely speculating with a little inside information, "That means that you're one of the Blood Devil's people?" The corners of Wang Lei's mouth quirked up slightly, and he said mysteriously, "You are very smart." Zhi Xiaoduo understood now, Huan and the Blood Devil each had their own goals. Huan had probably been looking for Mara's successor the entire time, and did not want the sacred land to be ruled by the Blood Devil again. When the seal was undone, its plan almost succeeded. If he had returned to the sacred land with the corrupted Xiang Cheng, Huan would have had the upper hand he needed to overthrow the Blood Devil. At the heart of it, this was all an internal struggle within the Yao and Devil factions. "It's not a good thing to become Mara at all," said Zhi Xiaoduo. "I'd rather not have his help at all. You can breezily extend your life expectancy by 1,000 years. What's bad about that?" Wang Lei replied. "Zhi Xiaoduo, is it meaningful to live that long?" "Wang Lei, how is it not meaningful? The history of human beings spans only 5,000 years, so you can live for over 1/5 of the lifespan of the entire race. Don't you want to know what will happen in 1,000 years? Zhi Xiaoduo had to admit that such a long life was really tempting for him. "But even if you live for 1,000 years, you will still die in the end," Zhi Xiaoduo said. "That's 1,000 years from now," Wang Lei said casually. "By then, the situation won't be the same." Zhi Xiaoduo asked, "Teacher Wang, are you a Yaoguai? You haven't looked at me with your dragon pupil." Wang Lei's eyebrows twitched. Zhi Xiaoduo shook his head and said, "You're probably not a Yaoguai." Wang Lei sneered. Zhi Xiaoduo thought that Wang Lei also did very much want to live longer. At this moment, the Xian turtle roared again, and more flying Yaoguai flew down and landed on its back. At the same time, a group of reptiles gathered from all around, including lizards and strange fish with long feet, which climbed onto the turtle shell one after another. The Xian turtle slowly got up and set off along the spacious street, taking all the Yaoguai to the other side of the city. "What does it want to do?" Wang Lei said. "It's taking so many Yaoguai with it to go find water? Is everyone thirsty?" Zhi Xiaoduo said, "It's most likely summoning lower-leveled Yaoguai to take them all back to their original places. There's a strict hierarchy in the sacred land about which Yaoguai can move around in which area." "You seem to know a lot." Wang Lei said coldly, "You go ahead." The Xian turtle seemed to not to notice them as it rumbled around. Wang Lei, dragging Zhi Xiaoduo's collar, quickened their pace and followed from behind. Zhi Xiaoduo suddenly saw a figure on a roof in the distance. Xian Hezi gestured at Zhi Xiaoduo and immediately hid in the shadows. The sky and the earth were all in chaos, and there were many Yaoguai flapping around everywhere. The suspended seal of light gradually broke. None of the Yaoguai knew what had happened, and they were blindly attacking their nearby companions. The fight between the Yaoguai spread like a violent hurricane through the sacred land. Another roar came from the distance, and the riot in the southwest corner gradually subsided. Zhi Xiaoduo guessed that some big Yaoguai had appeared and was protecting the small Yaoguai. Strange, why were they trying to kill each other? Forget it, more importantly, why did the Xian turtle leave with the little Yaoguai? Could this turtle be relatively docile? However, based on Zhi Xiaoduo's observations, the Xian turtle had a fierce expression and a ferocious face. It really didn't look like a good thing. A grand wall appeared around the temple, just like the Great Wall, separating the inner and outer areas. The Xian turtle was moving towards the northwest corner under the wall, and it was moving faster and faster, to the point that they almost couldn't keep up. Zhi Xiaoduo suddenly had a strange thought. The Xian turtle was supposed to be living in one of the grids in the upper left corner of the well, in the big lake. And then looking at the Yaoguai on its back, all of them were aquatic creatures with wings, and there were winged fish as well. So far, Zhi Xiaoduo seemed to have figured something out. Yes. After being sealed, these Yaoguai had been displaced from their original areas when flying around. After restoring within the sacred land, they were busy looking for their original homes and was returning to their places. The upper left corner were the aquatic creatures, so what was in the upper right corner? The Xian turtle stopped, roared again and gathered the surrounding aquatic creatures. Just like a huge bus, the aquatic creatures gathered towards it. There were non-stop Yaoguai climbing onto the turtle's shell, walking forward with the Xian turtle the entire way, but they were pushed off because there was no more room. Those who could not occupy a spot had to follow behind the Xian turtle. More and more water Yaoguai appeared, and tens of thousands of them gathered in a grand display. Wang Lei and others wanted to chase after the Xian turtle and move forward, but were also wary of being discovered by the Yaoguai, so they were practically trembling with fear. The Xian turtle stopped at a crossroad for the third time. When the aquatic creatures were gathering, Zhi Ziaduo said to Wang Lei, "Can we go up high? I want to see the situation around us." Wang Lei said, "Follow it, don't tarry." Zhi Ziaduo said, "This great wall has no end, it encloses the whole temple. If you want to enter the central area, you must find a way to have the wall come down." "How?" Wang Lei asked. "I also don't know," Zhi Ziaduo replied, "aren't I thinking through things right now? I'll go up and look." "Wait." Wang Lei was impatient, but Zhi Ziaduo ran right into a building. Wang Lei was afraid to startle the monster, so he didn't dare to shoot and instead chased after him. Zhi Ziaduo climbed up the stairs, panting as he stood at the top of the building, and looked around. "I understand." Zhi Ziaduo said to Wang Lei, "Look, the northwest is the habitat of the aquatic creatures. The northeast is a tall tower with a big bowl at the top, which should be a bird's nest. It's the territory of the bird Yaoguai." When Zhi Ziaduo said that, Wang Lei had also noticed that there were all kinds of birds hovering around the tower. To the southeast is a circular palace. Zhi Ziaduo explained, "Did you see that? The bear Yao and wolf Yao are converging there. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." An elephant trumpeted, the floor shook, and the elephant Yao led thousands of beasts to rush towards the circular palace. "What on earth is this? Ah!" Kita roared as he was chased to frantic hell. Countless animals chased behind Kita. With a burst of life-or-death strength, Kita limped along, running madly. The nine-tailed fox stopped on Kita's shoulder and looked back. "I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. The nine-tailed fox shouted, "Scram!" Kita jumped up, while pushing off the ground with one hand. He rolled onto the ground, and fell into a deep ditch. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. On the other side of the sacred land, by the lake. "Something seems to be coming this way," Xiao Bin said. When the two of them stopped on a long street, Xiao Bin shouted, "Be careful." A giant turtle suddenly rushed out from behind. Xiang Cheng jumped up and ran onto the shell. Xiao Bin turned around and jumped as well. He grabbed Xiang Cheng's hand, and the two of them dashed up the back of the giant turtle. The giant turtle raised its head and roared. It wanted to throw Xiao Bin and Xiang Cheng off, but to no avail. It had no choice but to fiercely turn toward the wall, but after a few shakes, the Xian turtle gave up its plan to throw them off and ran towards the northwest. "Can you make it go southwest?" Xiao Bin said. Xiang Cheng pondered for a moment, steadied himself, took out the Yao binding rope, and tied an ancient coin at the end of it. Although the Yao binding rope could not be used, the rope itself could still be used. The Xian turtle darted from left to right, and Xiang Cheng threw out the Yao binding rope as they were being jolted around. The ancient coin went in a big circle, then fell onto its horn. Chia! Xiang Cheng tugged at the Yao binding rope, and the turtle felt the pull and struggled desperately. Xiao Bin ran quickly along the shell, jumped up onto the Yao binding rope, landed on its head, and punched its left eyelid. The Xian turtle roared at that and nearly overturned the two of them. Xiao Bin punched the turtle again, and the Xian turtle's head spun, and it turned to the left. Xiao Bin kicked the turtle in the right eye, and the Xian turtle was controlled and rushed toward the southwest like a steamroller. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The south of the sacred land. There is another Xian turtle over there. Zhi Ziaduo motioned to Wang Lei and said, "They should be a male and a female. The Xian turtle is running towards us, so I guess it wants to join us here. Why are you so interested in Xian turtles? I know how to get across the wall now. Wang Lei replied, pointing to the incomplete stone pillar not far away. There were a row of stalactite bridges in each of the four corners of the shaped sacred land that led to the central temple. However, there was no way across the wall. But there is no door. Zhi Xiaoduo said, you can only reach the wall. Where there is a bridge, there must be a road. The key is how to open the door. Wang Lei said, there are Yaoguai in the northwest, northeast, and southwest, but there are no Yaoguai in the southeast. Right. Zhi Xiaoduo observed the rectangular marble palace in the distance and said, what does that mean? There are no Yaoguai there, and I don't know what type would gather there. It's safest to head in from the southeast corner. Wang Lei said. Zhi Xiaoduo stood at the edge of the roof and said, wait a minute. I keep thinking it's dangerous there. Wang Lei stood behind Zhi Xiaoduo and said, I suddenly feel that it is a bit of a pity to kill you. What? Zhi Xiaoduo looked back. Wang Lei said, a rare talent. Zhi Xiaoduo saw Xian Hezi carefully draw out his Tang Dao and approach Wang Lei. He said casually, thanks so much for your compliment. It's a pity that we can't leave you and Xiang Cheng alive, Wang Lei said. At that moment, the Tang Dao arrived silently onto the scene. Zhi Xiaoduo rushed to one side, Wang Lei suddenly turned around, and the blade was already right in front of him. With a slight sound, the blade cut Wang Lei from his left eyebrow to the bridge of his nose, and then to his right cheek. Blood gushed forward, and Xian Hezi waved the Tang Dao in his left hand and followed with his right hand. Wang Lei leaped back in mid-air and raised his hand quickly. At that moment, Xian Hezi drew back and protected himself with the two Tang Dao. The left saber swept over his eyebrows and the right saber crossed over his heart. Wang Lei pulled the trigger, and a gunshot rang out. The bullet revolved as it sped right between Xian Hezi's eyebrows, hit the blade, and was deflected by Xian Hezi's Dao. Zhi Xiaoduo's mouth went wide and caught a glimpse of the highest level of cold steel weapons. He could even predict the target of Wang Lei's shot, one to his heart and the other between the eyebrows. Before Wang Lei had pulled the trigger, he had drawn back to deflect the bullets. The calculation time there was accurately 0.1 seconds. Shit. Lao Zi will never slander you again. The gunshot echoed in the sacred land, and the whole sacred land went quiet. The Xian turtle below turned its head doubtfully, as if it felt something had happened. It roared, then rushed towards the building. Run! Roared Xian Hezi, and then he crossed Tang Dao with both hands, swiped with all his strength, and his body spun in the air. Wang Lei fired two more shots, and Xian Hezi avoided all the bullets. He gathered the power of his waist and abdomen in his strike, and he struck down at Wang Lei. Wang Lei flew out of the building, and Xian Hezi flew down quickly, while Zhi Xiaoduo rushed down the stairs. However, the Xian turtle below rushed to the front of the building and slammed into it hard, making a loud noise. The building collapsed, and the Yaoguai engulfed them like an ocean. When the building collapsed towards the mob, Xian Hezi shouted, "Jump!" Zhi Xiaoduo jumped towards Xian Hezi. Xian Hezi was in the air, and he swung his left Tang Dao back into its scabbard, before sweeping out the scabbard. He sent it towards Zhi Xiaoduo without any deviation in its path, and it arrived perfectly at his feet. Zhi Xiaoduo stepped on the scabbard and bounced up again with the momentum. Then, Xian Hezi hit the turtle shell with the Tang Dao, the blade curving through the air in a bright arc. Gunshots came from behind. Zhi Xiaoduo was still in the air, and Xian Hezi flew in from behind and dragged him to the back of the Yao group. "Did you film me?" "What film?" "I mean just now." Xian Hezi shouted, "I was that hot and you didn't even film me? Don't you often film Xiang Cheng? You're crazy ah!" Zhi Xiaoduo roared furiously, "How can I have time to film you ah dash dash?" The Yao group engulfed Wang Lei. As soon as Xian Hezi landed, he ran quickly with Zhi Ziaduo. They rushed into the lane, and Zhi Ziaduo ran alongside him with all his strength. "There are still Yaoguai behind us!" cried Zhi Ziaduo. "Run dash!" said Xianhezi. Zhi Ziaduo bent over to catch his breath, and Xianhezi lifted him up, carried him on his shoulder, and sprinted away at top speed. This went on until they shook off the Yaoguai, and Xianhezi stuck out his head and looked out from the back of the house to see that all the flying monsters who had been patrolling were now also scattered. Zhi Ziaduo held himself up against the wall and almost vomited. "Is there any water?" Zhi Ziaduo said, "I'm so thirsty." Xianhezi drew a bottle of Farmer's Spring from his bag and said, "I'll sell you one." Zhi Ziaduo took out 10 yuan and gave it to Xianhezi. Xianhezi took out his wallet and put the money away. When he opened it, Zhi Ziaduo stared at his wallet and then looked at Xianhezi. Xianhezi remembered that the wallet was given to him by Zhi Ziaduo, and he even wanted money from him for water, which was a bit embarrassing. After drinking more than half of the bottle in one breath, Zhi Ziaduo finally felt better. Xianhezi said, "Aren't you going to give me the bottle?" Zhi Ziaduo, "It's still half full." Xianhezi, "Why are you so stingy?" Zhi Ziaduo. There was the sound of machine guns shooting in the distance. Their expressions changed, and Xianhezi said, "Not good, come with me and run." "Why are you back again?" asked Zhi Ziaduo. "Qi Wei and Director Zhou's daughter are also here," said Xianhezi, panting, "but halfway through, we got separated." On the high tower, at the edge of the bird's nest, Zhou Wanyuan kicked desperately at the flying blood crows, lashing out with her high heels and handbag, dispersing all the Yao birds who had flown over. Qi Wei hid behind Zhou Wanyuan, who shrieked loudly. "What is this? Zhou Wanyuan could hardly bear it. She hit a 1-meter-long fierce eagle away in a beautiful home run, knocking it to the ground. "Wait. I'll think of a way." Qi Wei roared, "Thankfully the map of rivers and mountains isn't inside." Qi Wei's bag had fallen to the middle of the tower and had been picked up and carried away by a black ape. Zhou Wanyuan said frantically, "Don't think any more. Right now, you need to." "I don't have any weapons." Qi Wei shouted, "Everything was in the bag." "Who cares?" Zhou Wanyuan said, then grabbed the leg of the giant eagle, threw it out into the air like a roasted duck onto a cutting board, and jumped out. "Wait." Zhou Wanyuan and Qi Wei each seized one of the eagle's claws, and they jumped out of the 100-meter tower at the same time, plummeting straight down. "Are you sure it can?" "I didn't want you to jump," Zhou Wanyuan shouted. Qi Wei. Fortunately, the fierce eagle made every effort to flap its wings crazily. It managed to lift the two of them enough to slow down the fall, and it hit the ground head-on. When she landed, Zhou Wanyuan immediately did a circle sweep with her foot and whipped the fierce eagle into the wall. The eagle slipped and fell who knows where. "Somehow, we still haven't fallen to death like this." Zhou Wanyuan, exhausted, adjusted her bra strap, and said, "We're really lucky." Qi Wei leaned against the wall and said, "If Chen Zhen had come, he'd definitely have had a heart attack." "Find your bag quickly." Zhou Wanyuan roared, "Why are you flapping your mouth?" Qi Wei immediately rushed to look for the bag. At the same time, on the other side of the sacred land, all the Yaoguai seemed to have received some signal and grew quiet. In the square of the circular palace, there were a full 20,000 beast Yao crouching, including jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards, all of which were 4-footed beasts. Kita stuck out his head from the high wall and looked down. "What are they going to do?" Kita asked. The 9-tailed fox stared out quietly across the square. The black and white tiles on the circular square formed a Tai Chi diagram. There was a statue on both the yin and yang halves of the diagram, and the beasts were all sitting in order to worship the two sculptures, with the wolves and dogs scratching their ears with their hind paws from time to time. I see Lang Dog, Kita said. Lang Dog had carefully snuck in and squatted at the end of the line. 20,000 animals surrounded the two statues, which were two nine-tailed celestial foxes, each facing one side. Those are my parents. The nine-tailed fox replied, 8,000 years ago, they gave birth to Huan and me. The sacred land was also broken into, and sealed away by human beings. They guarded the sacred land until their deaths. At the same time, there was a tremor in the mountains. Kita looked up and around. Dust was falling from the top of the cave. Someone outside is attacking this mountain. The nine-tailed fox replied, the blood devil is coming, I can sense it. Go down and have a look. Kita carefully crept down the steps beside the wall as quietly as possible. Take me between the two sculptures, said Feng Li's voice. There are Yaoguai everywhere. Kita said, are you sure they won't attack you? The nine-tailed fox hesitated for a moment, then said, they will, but I must try to subdue them. Kita whispered, if you go to the middle, can you subdue them? The nine-tailed fox didn't answer. Instead, it moved to jump down to the ground, but Kita grabbed its tail. The nine-tailed fox lashed out with all its limbs and said angrily, don't touch my tail. Kita switched to holding it in his arms and holding its head down. The nine-tailed fox said in a low voice, in the middle between the yin and yang positions is the place where the spiritual power of the sacred land flows. Huan and I, who were still in swaddling clothes at the time, were taken away in a hurry and do not have the qualifications to succeed as Great Yao, so our present identity is not recognized by the sacred land. Did you see those runes? The nine-tailed fox then said, I must run along the curve between yin and yang before this place will recognize me. Kita said, as soon as we come out, we will be surrounded by all the Yaoguai, and will die miserably. The nine-tailed fox sighed, and Kita asked, shall I try to distract them? Don't do that, said the nine-tailed fox. It's too dangerous, there are at least 20,000 beasts here. Kita said, it's also as dangerous for you to go in. The nine-tailed fox said, I think that maybe they won't attack me. Asterisk. Zhiziaduo gradually stopped as he and Xian Hezi arrived at the palace shaped like a long rectangle. Xiang Cheng is approaching us. Zhiziaduo said, shall we wait for him? Xian Hezi said, if we're unlucky, maybe Wang Lei will come again. Go ahead and hide Ba. There was a dark wind blowing through the empty palace, and it was a little creepy. Throughout the entire sacred land, this was the only place that didn't have any Yaoguai. Although the Yaoguai attacked people, Zhiziaduo thought it would be better to be with them. Xian Hezi pulled out his Tang Dao and walked ahead. Zhiziaduo said, I think we'd better leave this place. At the beginning, he had felt some kind of indescribable danger, but now that he had the chance to really think about it, this was the only area in the sacred land without any Yaoguai, which must be because even Yaoguai did not want to approach the rectangular palace. We're already here. Xian Hezi said, if you didn't want to come here, why did you walk to this path? I didn't want to take this path at all. Wang Lei chose it. Zhiziaduo said timidly, hiding behind Xian Hezi. The ring on his hand was slightly hot, which was a sign that Xiang Cheng was approaching. The gates to the palace were 10 meters high, and the stone door was opened just a crack. Xian Hezi slipped in, and Zhiziaduo looked left and right before following him. After a moment, his eyes adapted to the darkness inside and he saw rows of coffins in the hall, with no end in sight that he could see in a glance. Each coffin had a rune paper stuck to it. Let's leave Ba. Xian Hezi said quickly. Xian Hezi, protecting Zhiziaduo, wanted to exit, but suddenly, two glowing eyes opened in the dark and tens of thousands of sharp arrows shot at them. Be careful! Xian Hezi shouted. Xian Hezi lifted Zhiziaduo and made him drop flat. He twirled the two blades in his hands, protecting his front. Next, there came a roar, and a black, winged monster covered in faces rushed towards him. Xian Hezi's two blades shot out, but a horn stabbed him in the shoulder. One of his sabers flew out of his hand, and with a groan, the Daoti's horn gored him. On the Daoti's head, Jinghao's face showed a strange smile, staring at Xian Hezi. Xian Hezi's left hand trembled as his whole body was lifted off the ground. He stared at the Daoti, laughing though convulsing with pain. Zhi Xiaoduo stuck out his head from under the cover of the coffin. He reached out, felt around the ground, and grabbed Xian Hezi's Tang Dao. Xian Hezi shook his left hand, pointed behind the door, and signaled for Zhi Xiaoduo to escape quickly. In that instant, the Daoti looked up, threw Xian Hezi into the air, and then opened its mouth to swallow him completely. Zhi Xiaoduo rushed out of the coffin despite the danger, kicked off the coffin with one foot, held the Tang Dao in both hands, and with the tip of the saber facing down, stabbed down at Luan's face on the Daoti's back. Xian Hezi flipped in the air, rotated, and slashed at the Daoti's horn with the Tang Dao in his hand. The Daoti suddenly twisted its head and roared. The blade cut Jinghao's face, and the Daoti rolled around and slammed against the ground, sending Xian Hezi flying. Zhi Xiaoduo ran to him immediately, grabbed Xian Hezi's arm from behind with both hands, and dragged him to a darker spot. The Daoti wildly slammed around and roared in the great hall, before turning into black gas and slipping out of the door. Xian Hezi convulsed with pain. Shh. Zhi Xiaoduo was still frightened. What had transpired just now was really too dangerous. He dragged Xian Hezi along and retreated towards the coffin array. Xian Hezi struggled up, half his body covered in blood, and staggered around. He put one hand on Zhi Xiaoduo's shoulder and ran all the way into the depths of the hall. At the end of the palace was a huge coffin standing there, next to which were 4 big pillars that would need 10 people to encircle one of them. Zhi Xiaoduo put Xian Hezi behind the pillars, and immediately opened up a water bottle to wash his wounds. Do you have any medicine? Zhi Xiaoduo searched Xian Hezi's bag. Xian Hezi leaned up against the steps behind the pillar, where there was a huge sarcophagus above his head. Blood seeped out of his mouth, and his lips kept trembling. The sharp, conical horns of the Daoti had pierced a bloody hole in Xian Hezi's shoulder. Zhi Xiaoduo took off his coat to press against the wound and found some medicine to spread on it, but it was washed away by his blood. You, listen to me. Xian Hezi said while trembling. Stop talking, said Zhi Xiaoduo. I can't go on. During the holidays, burn some more paper money for me. Zhi Xiaoduo, you won't die. The Qingming Festival, the Mid-Autumn Festival, the Spring Festival. Xian Hezi looked at Zhi Xiaoduo wearily and said, and my birthday. All right, all right, all right. Zhi Xiaoduo said, don't talk. My bank password is. Xian Hezi said powerlessly, help me, buy all the money in there as paper money, burn it all, to give me. Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo smelled the medicine powders, all used to activate bone growth and generate muscle. However, many of them were elixirs, which could hardly be of use in this area with magic nullification. Suddenly, he remembered that when he was injured last time, Xiang Cheng also stashed a package of special metal-inflicted wound medicine on him. Zhi Xiaoduo patted himself all over. Thankfully, although he had changed his clothes several times, Xiang Cheng was worried about the recurrence of his old wounds, so he had also tucked a bag into his pants pocket. Zhi Xiaoduo immediately opened it and gave it to Xian Hezi. It's sealed up. Zhi Xiaoduo said, don't move now. Definitely don't move. There is only this little bit of wound medicine, and if the wound opens up again, you will definitely die. Xian Hezi let out an N, looking deathly pale. Zhi Xiaoduo gently laid Xian Hezi flat and knelt beside him. He wondered why Xiang Cheng hadn't come yet. He was already very close to here. Had he run into Jinghao? The sound of footsteps rang out, accompanied by the voices of people. Someone was here. They must still be hiding here. Wang Lei came in, carrying Xian Hezi's Tang Dao. On the Daoti's head, Jing Hao's face had a bloody gash, and he screamed in pain. I will kill them. Wang Lei looked at the Daoti and said, calm down, don't eat any more. The demonic power in your body is beginning to grow out of control. I will kill them. The Daoti roared, its voice echoing in the hall. Wang Lei bypassed the Daoti, turned on his flashlight, and shone it on the ground. He saw a trail of blood that led along the dense coffin array deep into the hall, and so he followed the trail with a sneer. In the quiet hall, there was a dull noise, and Wang Lei stopped immediately. Zhi Xiaoduo crouched down and moved through the inner part of the coffin array, then reached out and tore off the Yao binding seals on the coffin. Inside the sarcophagus, there was another dull noise. Wang Lei. What's that noise? Wang Lei said, did you guys hear that? Go and have a look. 3 of Wang Lei's subordinates had been trampled and killed by the Yao group just now. The remaining ones spread out and headed for the inner part of the coffin array. Wang Lei shone the flashlight into that area, while Zhi Xiaoduo hid behind a sarcophagus and held his breath. Wang Lei's flashlight swept past and moved away. Zhi Xiaoduo took the opportunity to go through the coffin array and tear away the Yao binding seals on one sarcophagus after another. Who's there? Wang Lei shouted. Several black apio surrounded a sarcophagus. The sound inside the sarcophagus kept going, and the Daoti seemed to have found its target. It stepped into the coffin array and rushed straight towards the sarcophagus. Wait! Wang Lei shouted. The Daoti rushed to the sarcophagus, and with a crash, the Yao inside opened the lid. A rotten monster leaped out. It had a long pike in its left hand, and it spun it in a circle before stabbing it towards the Daoti. The Daoti burst into a roar, opened its huge mouth, and swallowed the rotting corpse with the long pike into its stomach. The world quieted again. Zhi Xiaoduo trembled with fear and watched the Daoti from a distance. Wang Lei let out a breath and shone his flashlight at it. Don't eat any more. Wang Lei said, I will remind you for the last time. Before he finished talking, the Daoti's belly burst open. With a roar, the devoured rotting corpse burst out of the Daoti's body. It swept its spear forth and sent the apio that rushed over flying. Zhi Xiaoduo was at once dumbfounded. The Daoti couldn't digest that thing. The Daoti's belly quickly healed, and it ran forward and slammed into the rotting corpse. With one paw, the rotting corpse was smashed into pieces, and its armor flew everywhere. However, more sarcophagus covers flew up through the air and broke. Zhi Xiaoduo came back to his senses, and he dashed through swiftly, tearing off the seals non-stop as he went. The fighting in the hall was overwhelming as there were more and more decayed corpses. Zhi Xiaoduo had forgotten to tear off a few seals, and when he rushed to a sarcophagus, the lid suddenly flew away and scared him half to death. He fled in a hurry, and a body crawled out of the sarcophagus, but it did not notice Zhi Xiaoduo. It was instead drawn towards the sounds of the Daoti fighting. Upon seeing the corpse Yao at a close distance, Zhi Xiaoduo finally understood why there were no Yaoguai around here. The corpse Yao were not sealed in by the light, but had instead been directly buried in the coffins. But what kind of Yaoguai was this? Could zombies also become Yao? A name flashed in Zhi Xiaoduo's mind. Corpse ghosts of soldiers that had fell in battle. Zhi Xiaoduo used both hands and feet to crawl through the coffin array, and he had to be careful not to be found by the corpse ghosts while also releasing them. The Daoti had already been seized by many corpses, and as it wildly rushed and crashed along, many sarcophagi got broken. More corpse ghosts came back to life, rushing towards the Daoti one after another. That should be enough, right? Zhi Xiaoduo was worried about his own life, and even more about Xian Hezi's. Xian Hezi was injured and unable to move, and let alone being attacked. If he got stepped on, that wouldn't be fun either. Fortunately, there were no corpse ghosts behind the pillar as they were all attacking the Daoti. These Yaoguai are too friendly and reasonable, you'll definitely get a good reward when we get back. Zhi Xiaoduo wildly applauded the valiant corpse ghosts in his heart, before he suddenly observed another phenomenon. The further he ran towards the sarcophagi at the end of the hall, the less the corpse ghosts released stank, and the more powerful their attacks were. It also seemed that it took less time for them to wake up. Was it that the closer you were to the inside, the higher your accomplishments had been? Zhi Xiaoduo quickly ran to the pillar and tore off all the seals on the innermost row of sarcophagi. He ran past without looking at all, and each coffin lid flew out in less than a second. 6 commanders, shimmering silver, appeared, each with different weapons. They all flew towards the Dowdy. Zhi Xiaoduo dropped his chin and retreated to a high place. He thought, you guys are done for. The Dowdy was already overwhelmed and wounded all over. It had to tear up the corpse ghosts while also avoiding the spears and sneak attacks going for Jing Hao's head. Wang Lei and the others brought up machine guns and started shooting. Found him. There! Cried an Apiao. Wang Lei accidentally caught a glimpse of Zhi Xiaoduo. He immediately put away the machine gun, jumped into the coffin array, and sped towards Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo quietly muttered "oh no," but when he backed up, he encountered the huge sarcophagus in the center. Wang Lei took out his pistol, and Zhi Xiaoduo immediately hid behind the sarcophagus. He saw a decayed chain and climbed up with it, however, time had laid waste to the chain, and it was already rusty. A large row of seals were stuck to it, and all of that collapsed with a crash. Wang Lei rushed onto the high platform. Zhi Xiaoduo leaped down from behind the sarcophagus to rush down the steps and hide behind the pillar. At the moment when Wang Lei was about to catch Zhi Xiaoduo, with a loud bang, all the seals on the sarcophagus were broken, and the coffin lid was lifted by an invisible force. The vertical lid of the central sarcophagus exploded into powder which flew in all directions. Zhi Xiaoduo's collar tightened, and he was lifted off the ground by a spear. Wang Lei was slapped in the chest and flew out like he had been hit by an explosion, and blood trickled from his mouth. Who is so bold to act so wantonly in front of this king? Zhi Xiaoduo thought, Great King, you're here. Great King, you are so heroic. All right, Great King, yes, Great King, thank you, Great King. The corpse ghost king is here. Let's see what you can do now, Wang Lei. End chapter.